Kia here, who's sitting with me, she lost her husband Alan and Naomi, Alan was a good friend of mine, in the terrorist attacks of 26/11 in Mumbai. And Kia has spent some time in Mumbai, and she happened to read my book Explosion of Love, and one particular essay in it which was based on this incident, because Ramesh had asked me to write about the terrorist attacks in the light of the teaching of Advaita. So that is why that essay was written. And that essay, when Kia read, it impacted her enough to want to go back to the very restaurant where they had their last meal, Alan and Naomi, to honor their memory. And I think that is what living is about. To have I don't even know if courage is the right word, but just the presence to do such a thing. So maybe Kia would want to share a few words about that.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, just to read that essay, because Gautam had a role in this whole episode that was outside of the hotel, but yet he was the one communicating to Master Charles and people there. He knew exactly what was going on. All they knew is that bombs and guns were going off. So that was really fascinating to see that point of view, because where he lives is right around the corner from the Trident Oberoi hotels. And then at one point in the story, and I think it was toward the end of the essay, he talked about going to the Tiffin restaurant, which has now been renamed the Phoenix. They went there to have a meal, and he said he sat there and Alan and Naomi came to his awareness. He was very moved. I think you even said tears came to your eyes. But then here he was, alive and living and sharing this experience with a friend. And so he said they drank a toast to Alan and Naomi. And I was so moved by that, and I said, wow, he's right. They're not lying on the floor of that restaurant anymore. So why should I live my life on the floor of that restaurant, or a part of it there? And why should I let my memory of them remain as these bodies surrounded by other dead bodies that are not alive anymore? Those bodies are not alive. So I had been in Mumbai, this was in 2010, and I'd been there for 2 to 3 months, and it was New Year's Eve, and I had a very meditative New Year's Eve. And then when I woke up, I just decided it's a new year. And I'd like to bring in this new year with the presence of Alan and Naomi, not their deaths. And so I felt a little shaky, of course, and I actually put on my sunglasses because I knew I was going to cry. And I walked over to the restaurant, and it's so interesting how these things transpire here in Mumbai. Of course, the waiter that was there was in fact the waiter that knew this group, and I got there, took off the sunglasses. I knew I had been shown before exactly what table it was, and I stood there. The restaurant was practically empty. And he came over and said, "May I help you?" And then he looked at me in some kind of recognition. And I looked down at the table and, kind of blinking tears, he said, "Oh." He said, "You look like your daughter." I knew them. He said they usually sat up here at the front of the restaurant, but that night it was very crowded, and so they came back to this spot. And I said, "I'm here to bring in the new year." And so he sat me down, and I don't think I really ate much, but I went through the motions of ordering a nice pasta meal, and they brought me, I was by myself, so they brought me this beautiful magazine to look at with all these beautiful pictures. And I sat and I was really basking in and contemplating life in that moment. So it was really in memory of their lives and carrying that forward with me in a new life. And it was there that I decided that I would really open up to new life. And I didn't, by opening to new life, it didn't mean I was abandoning them on the floor of the restaurant and not bringing them with me. And I think that's one reason I was holding on to those memories to some extent. Instead, I was carrying them along with me in my heart. And I would open to new life and new experience. And so I drank my own toast to Alan and Naomi. And at various points, the different staff would come over and attend to me and talk to me. They were so loving. They're always like family here, because that kind of an experience, even though you were supposedly strangers, you're family. I mean, something like that, your family. Life and birth and death, you're bonded forever. And so I really didn't feel like I was just this alone person sitting in a hotel restaurant by myself on New Year's Day. No, I was surrounded by family in a very intimate way, and I could be so totally in that, I would say the now experience was so magnified that I really could, I don't know, it's just hard to explain in words. It's just, you become one with it. It's just, there isn't any me, there's no restaurant, there's no this or there's that. There's just this happening of consciousness that it was a powerful beginning of that year for me. And now, since then, I've been blessed to return to Mumbai many times, and I'm staying here longer and longer and longer each time. So we'll see what happens. I don't know, but I'm really grateful for that experience.
Do you comment on Gautam's essay and how it impacted you, and how it made you go back there?
Well, I just remember that it was actually very cathartic when I first read it. I cried, I had to break down and cry a lot, because he told aspects of the story that I hadn't known before, because I had heard the story from the people inside the hotel. So this was the first time I heard in detail from someone who was very close to all of them that was outside of the hotel. Not only that, he was telling the story from the point of view of a witness to these events, because he's very grounded in that witness consciousness. He knows he is consciousness. He's not, doesn't have that identification so much with everything. So he was responding appropriately what was happening, and he was involved in it. But yet the way he told it, it was obvious that he was sharing a description and an observation of the unfoldment of these events. So this is a very enlightened perspective, a very aware perspective. And that was also helpful to me, because yes, the human side of me can sometimes be pulled back into the attachments and the identification that, oh, my husband, my daughter, my husband, they are dead, and now who am I? And with a big question mark, who am I actually, is the question. So it was really a very moving experience and an enlightening one to read his essay.